Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Coriander and Killian. Now we're going to the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like
Good
going back
stuff.
home. Yeah, it is good
All
stuff,
right.
man. So, obviously, we're going to be doing our top 10 comedy movies from the 1980s. What a decade. So many great movies. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's always fun talking about these movies because it brings back so many memories. Um, Real quick, let's see what we have in the chat. We've got Gorphobe. Gorphobe's in the chat saying, "Hey, what's
Hello.
going on?
Hey.
What's going on, man? Very, very cool." We got Fred in the chat saying, "What would you maniacs like to do first?" Nice. All right. So, real quick, like we always do, just doing a quick take on the 80s, especially when we compare it to what we did last week with the 70s. I'll start with you, Coriander. What do 80s comedies mean to you? What do they represent?
Man, it reminds me of, like we always say, childhood. Watching these movies with your family, and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, laughing your ass off. These are some great movies.
Right? How about you, Kill?
Man, as good as the 70s was for comedy, I think the 80s was even better because you had some
Mm,
of those great comedians from the 70s now blended with the up and comers of the 80s.
hmm.
And I mean, you just had iconic comedy movies in the 80s. I
Yeah.
mean, that still stand the test of time.
Right?
And like
Mhm.
Coriander said, I also think of like our childhood and sneaking to listen to some of the stuff and hoping mom and dad were like, all right, it's just a comedy. It shouldn't be any violence or nudity. And then, being surprised when there is violence or nudity, So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is very true, man. We probably watched a lot of comedies that we shouldn't have. I guess that's how it always is for each generation. Fred was saying, I think that the 80s represent the teen era movies that were directed by the late, great John Hughes. Yeah, absolutely. John
Mm.
Hughes and his movies were a huge part of the culture of the 80s and for us growing up um, from that generation. But for me, the 80s, I agree with what you guys have said. I mean, the 80s was such an interesting decade because where the 70s comedies obviously were great. There were some great movies and great comedians. But I think that the 80s really opened up so much because, as you'll see in our list, some of these movies kind of bleed into other genres. It
Mhm.
may not be just straight comedy, it bleeds into other things, whether it be sci fi or fantasy or even maybe a little horror. And I think the 80s was such a great breeding ground for creativity and imagination. And a lot of these movies that we're going to talk about, they illustrate that tenfold. Real
Mm.
quick, too, in the chat, we got Cindy Moon in the chat saying John Candy ruled the 80s. He did.
Yeah.
The late, great. I
Hmm.
love John Candy and all of his movies. So, anyways, we're going to get finished getting set up and give people a chance to jump into the chat if they choose to do so. So, for you guys already in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. We're going to do this the same way that we always do, round robin style. We'll start with you, Kill, and then Coriander, and then me. So, let me get us set up here. We're going to start from number 10, man.
Okay.
All right, what do we got?
So, like earlier, I was talking about how this decade blended the old and the new. And speaking of the new in the 80s, this is the guy that, did a little movie and then had a show called In Living Color. And I'm talking about Keenan Ivory Wayans. So I'm talking about my number 10. I'm gonna get you, sucker. And look, this movie is just like some of the ones from the 70s. Anytime it's on, I have to stop and watch it because it has so much of that visual humor that I loved in movies like Airplane or Naked Gun. And the
Mm,
cast that you have in here, I mean, Bernie Casey, Isaac Hayes, Keenan Ivory Wayans, Damian Wayans, it was a who's who in here. And on top of it, like you were saying, with comedies in the 80s blending action and horror, this movie is a pretty good action movie as well.
Right?
And this was one of those movies I was talking about, Night, where maybe we shouldn't have been watching this with our parents because it has
Right?
violence, nudity, comedy, language, but it is hilarious.
Yeah.
Guys, if for some reason you've never seen this movie, or if you were ever a fan of In Living Color, it's so many alumni from
Yes.
In Living Color in this.
Mhm.
It's a funny movie, and it's just it's just awesome. So check it out. So my number 10, I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Right? All right, man. Okay. All right, Coriander. So what do we have for your number 10?
So I have 9 to 5.
Yeah, you
you
do.
have you had Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton. I mean, they worked for a sleazy boss, and shit
Yeah,
goes
they did.
down, and I mean, these 3 ladies together, they had great chemistry and funny movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they really did have good chemistry. I remember, and Kill, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were kids and mom and dad were watching this, and that's the one thing that struck me too. Of course, I was a big fan of Lily Tomlin, anyways, from the old days on SNL and stuff like that. So as soon as I saw her in it, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. But yeah, it was a good movie, and Dabney Coleman got his comeuppance in this movie. So
Yes.
all right. He really did. I mean, that scene
Yeah, he
that I was
did.
showing where they tied him up and they made him watch soap operas, Days of Our
Yes.
Lives. Like, oh man.
Yes.
But
And like this,
yeah, there was some good stuff in it.
yeah.
Dora was saying, "Hell yeah, 9 to 5." Grew up on that one. Yes,
Right?
yes. Fred was saying the movie Horrible Bosses is like a male version of 9 to 5. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it is.
true. It is true. It is very, very true. All right. So for me, these movies, again, like you were saying, Kill, these movies, it's so much memory and good vibes and stuff that they always bring up in my mind. So when I was trying to put this list together, it was a challenge. It really was. But I can't forget my boy. This is one of my favorite guys in comedies. And growing up, he was just always, I always get a smile when I watch him. I got to talk about my man, Leslie Nielsen. I'm going with The Naked Gun.
Nice.
And look, man, people know what this movie is about. Leslie Nielsen just doing his best. And it was so funny. So many gags, so many funny moments. And it's funny because Leslie Nielsen originally wasn't a comedic actor. He morphed into that in, the later part of his career. And it's so funny because he is so good. His timing,
Right.
the deadpan faces and everything. But this movie had a lot of great people in it. And Kill, you know who was in this movie? Our boy Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah, he
Anytime
was.
anytime you got Ricardo Montalban in your movie, you've already upgraded. But it was just a fun movie. Everyone in it, Priscilla Presley was funny in it. You even had O.J. Simpson in it, pre-controversy and everything. So, but this was a good movie. If you have not seen The Naked Gun, you've got to watch it. It's awesome. All right, let's head to number 9. All right. Gil.
Okay. So for my number 9, I have Coming to America.
Ooh.
So, talk about people who just ruled the 80s. I mean, Eddie Murphy was on fire.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love this movie, and I love all these
Right.
movies, but they have to go somewhere on the list.
Right.
And I mean, this movie also is like a who's who of comedians in there. You even have a very, very young Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, you do.
He's robbing the joint. But yeah, this movie is amazing. They just recently made a sequel. It's an Amazon Prime movie. It was not bad. But it's not this. This is that original awesome stuff. Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones. Man, come on. It's an amazing movie. If for some reason you have not seen the original Coming to America, or if you're an Eddie Murphy fan and for some reason it slipped through the cracks,
Hmm.
Definitely check it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And real quick in the chat, let's see. Slasher Fred was saying, "I like Leslie Nielsen in Airplane." Oh yeah, yeah, you did.
Hmm.
And we got Biffers in the chat saying, "Hey gang, what's up, man?
Hey.
How
Hello.
you doing?" All right, and I think we got one more comment here. Gore was saying Dabney Coleman was also fantastic in Modern Problems with Chevy Chase. Yeah, he was. That
Hmm.
was a good one too, man. There's so many great comedies. It's not even funny. All
Yeah.
right, so Coriander, what do we have for your number 9?
So I have Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
All right.
Michael Keaton, Terry Garr. Yeah. I mean, this movie is so funny. You got a dad who gets laid off and he switches his roles with his wife and she, returns to work and yeah, it's funny.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah. It
stuff
was,
that he does. Yeah.
and he just does it with that Michael Keaton face, man. I love Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Same.
And there's Martin Mull. And
Yep.
Hmm.
the other thing that was great about these comedies, and I know that happens in every decade, but maybe it's because this is when we were growing up. But you saw certain people in certain, you'd see them more than once or twice, and that was
Yeah.
that was cool too, very, very cool. All right, let's see. We got Dan, Mr. Dan Anhar in chat saying just watched an old thriller episode with serious Leslie Nielsen. Yeah,
Nice.
serious Leslie Nielsen was great too, man. It's just funny how he was able to
He could
transition.
do both. Yeah.
Yeah,
He could be a
yeah,
wicked dick and he could be, a
yeah,
funny Frank Drebin.
yep, yep, absolutely. Okay, so for my number 9, we're gonna continue, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's two things that we talked about in the 70s episode, and we're going to continue those two paths, two different movies, and whatever, but you guys will get the point. But comedy duos is a special thing, and
Mm.
I think especially me and Kill talked a lot about a specific comedy duo, and you did too, Coriander, that we've always enjoyed. Two legends, and that of course is Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. They were just
Yeah.
amazing. My number
Hmm.
9 is the great Stir Crazy. And,
Nice.
again, what more can we say about these two legends of the genre? They're just fantastic together, man. And like I said,
Yes.
we were very lucky to have them in 4 or 5 movies together. Um,
Yeah.
the selfish part about it is I wish we could have had them in more. They were just amazing
Right?
Hmm.
together. But in
Yeah.
that movie, it was so funny. And look who they're playing cards with, Kill. Who is
Yeah.
that, Kill? From the Running Man, Dynamo. You
Uh-huh.
know, so
Yeah.
again,
This
you have
movie was great.
it was, man, and you've got a pre-Poltergeist Joe Beth in the
Yeah.
movie, so it's like it was a great movie. It was funny as hell. I just remember watching this movie on those Sunday afternoons in the living room when my dad's sitting on the couch and it's like on CBS, and I'm just watching this movie that I probably was too young to watch, but I enjoyed it anyways. So that's my number 9, Stir Crazy. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. Cindy Moon saying the best duo. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were so great together, man. They really were. Gorphobe was saying Leslie Nielsen is a one in a million, and Khan Ricardo Montalban is legendary. Yes, it's true enough, man. You know what we're talking about. Okay, so let's head to our next number 8. So what do we got, Kill?
Okay, so this director was tearing it up in the 70s, and he continued in the 80s. I mean, come on. The genius of Mel Brooks knows not only one decade. So
Right?
my number 8 is History of the World Part 1.
Yeah.
And look, once again, like Mel just calls in all of his favorite players
Yes.
and comedic actors to come in and just have fun with history, poke fun at it, also look at the morality of it. I mean, and just make fun of it. Everything. And what I really liked about this one, even more than some of his stuff in the 70s, Mel was in it even more.
Right.
He was in
Yeah.
it a lot. I mean, sort of like what you also saw with Spaceballs. Um, and I mean, essentially, one of the scenes that just always sticks out in my mind is with Gregory Hines. Gregory Hines is in there, and and, he's just if you guys don't know Gregory Hines, rest in peace, great tap dancer, and he's just in there, he's doing a tap dance, and they're all looking at him like, what is this brown man doing? And it's just hilarious. Once again, and I think I said it before, as far as Mel Brooks and his repertoire of movies, his back catalog, check it out. I mean, to me, Mel Brooks is just like any other director that, like, the Quentin Tarantinos, or, you want to see all their stuff and just devour it. And I truly feel Mel Brooks was way ahead of his time with some of the satire and making fun at us and history and just life itself. Yeah, the social commentary is in there, and it's just hilarious. So my number 8, History of the World Part 1. Check it out. You will not be, you will be satisfied, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, and Coriander, what do we have for your number 8?
So I have Porky's.
Yeah, you do.
Seeing this as a kid, I mean, shit. This was one, I probably shouldn't have watched when I was a kid, but I did. And it takes place in 1954. You got a group of high school guys that are helping a friend lose his virginity. And it just leads to them, going to a nightclub and shit goes down. And
And just like we talked about, you got a young Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, you do.
And we will see her again in some of our favorite movies. So it was just a cool ass decade, man. It really was. It was a lot of good stuff, man. All right, let's see. Gorephobe was saying Leslie did a Night Gallery episode too. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. And Mel Brooks is one of those that his catalog of classics seems endless. He was just so talented. He really was, and also a producer of a lot of great movies, and not just in comedy. He helped produce The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, and it was like, what? Mel Brooks? Like, yeah, he was talented, a filmmaker. All right, so for my number 8, and again, this movie, and now that I'm about to say it, this movie has so many comedic legends in it that it almost doesn't even seem right. And there's some of my favorite comedians in this movie. I used to love watching it anytime it was on TV. It's a classic. You guys know it is. I'm talking about Caddyshack.
Nice.
I mean, look, man. Right there, man. I mean, you got 4 legends. You know what I mean? You get Ted Knight.
Yeah.
You got Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, come on, man. You can't lose. This movie was hilarious. It really was. Bill Murray doing his best crazy guy, and when Bill Murray unleashes like this, there's no telling where it's gonna go. It really isn't. He was fantastic in this movie. But then you also have, and Coriander knows this too, just like you, Kill, Chevy Chase is my boy. At any time Chevy Chase can be featured in a movie, or obviously the movies that were his as a starring vehicle, I just love those movies. And to have him and Bill Murray in the same movie together, that was just magic. I love this movie so much. Very good movie. All right, so that's my number 8, Caddyshack. All right, we're gonna go to number 7. All right, man, what do you got?
Man, bring it right back up. My number 7 is Caddyshack. Great minds think alike, man. You kind of said it all night, but Chevy Chase, and I swear his dialogue, I don't know if he just ad-libbed most of that, but his humor and how quick and witty he is, like one scene that I always remember is he's playing around a golf and he's talking to his caddy, and he's like, so how's it going with you? Oh, okay, well, keep on doing that. I forget all of the dialogue, but it's just how quick the banter and how effortless it was.
Yes.
And do you like pot, John? Or something. It's just, it was just so effortless. Chevy Chase is another comedian that the 80s, I mean, whether it was like, or late 70s, whether it was like the Fletch movies or Nothing But Trouble or this, I mean, or definitely all the National Lampoon's Vacations, his humor is just so spot on and seamless. It's masterful, just Caddyshack. If you have not seen Caddyshack, what are you doing with your life? Go check it out. It's amazing.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Fred was saying Mel Brooks was also the producer for The Elephant Man. Yep, he was, man.
Nice.
He was, yeah, he really was. Gore saying, nice fact on Mel Brooks night. I didn't know that one about The Fly. Yeah, man. He really was a very diverse filmmaker. He really was, producing, directing, being in the movie. And not many people ever talk about that, but he has fantastic comedic timing. I mean, he is so funny, and you see that in his movies when he's in them. So, all right. So, Coriander, what do you have for your number 7?
Stir Crazy.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
All
these
right.
guys. Oh my God, this is like the funniest movie. I mean, from the time they're in jail up until when they're in the what were they? They were
The
like riding
rodeo.
horses.
Yeah, the
Yes, the
rodeo.
Mhm.
rodeo. Oh my God, it's just such a funny movie. And yeah, these guys together, they were great. They
They
really
were.
were.
They
Yeah.
were. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
at some point, we'll have to do an episode and really get deeper
Yeah.
on those guys, because I think that it was a special thing. It really, really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
was. All right. So for me, for my number 7, again, saying this out loud, it makes me think, how could I not have this higher? This movie, and it became a franchise. This movie, I probably watched this movie so many times. I remember in school, we would be talking about this movie, we'd be doing the quotes, it was just a fantastic movie, and it spawned a huge franchise. And many of the other sequels were very good too. I'm talking about my man, Steve Guttenberg, in Police Academy. And
Mhm.
man, this movie was just so funny. Everybody in this movie was just on point. Michael Winslow was a
I love the
treasure.
dude with the sound effects.
He was a treasure, and
Yes.
everybody was so good in this movie. And again, Gutenberg, man, he was just awesome. Again, you got Kim Cattrall. It's like you can see the through lines of this movie. You got your boy Kill, Tackleberry. I mean, this movie was so freaking funny. It really, really was. I enjoyed it so much, and it was a movie that I was at a certain age where I was able to watch it and then go to school, and we talked about it. We would make fun of the scenes and imitate the scenes and all that. So it was a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. So Police Academy is my number 7. All right, let's move on. Let's see what we got here. So we're going to be going to number 6. All right, Kill. What do we have for your number 6?
So for my number 6, I have The Power of the Swartz. I
All
have
right, let me take that off of there.
Spaceballs.
All right, nice.
So
Right.
once again, another Mel Brooks joint. Rick
Mhm.
Moranis, Mel Brooks, and once again, just a jam-packed cast of comedians. John Candy. I mean, you name it. Uh, what's better to spoof one of the biggest movies of all time?
Right,
And who to do it better than Mel Brooks? Okay,
right.
you're spoofing Star Wars, and and please quote me if I'm wrong on this. George Lucas loved this movie.
Yes,
I
yes,
remember hearing that he was like, "Dude, do it! Like this
yeah,
is awesome."
yeah,
And I remember, me and Knight were huge and still are huge Star Wars fans. And then to see this, it was like, oh man, it's like a funnier version of Star Wars.
yes.
So this movie once again, awesome. Rick Moranis. doing his best Darth Vader with
Yes.
the gigantic helmet. And you showed the clip earlier, like, what's his name? Oh, he's an asshole. I'm surrounded by assholes. I mean, just clever writing.
Yeah.
So once again, please check out Mel Brooks and his movies. He is just a talented director and great
Yes.
comedic timing.
Yes.
Spaceballs for number 6.
Absolutely, man. And Dan in the chat was also mentioning the John Hurt cameo, which was shout out to John Hurt, man. That was a funny scene, man. Hello, my baby. Hello, my. Okay, so all right, all right. Let me just get this situated. All right, so Coriander, what do you have for your number 6?
So I have Naked Guns.
All right, let me just get that
Yeah.
changed up here. 'Cause we're
This
all over the
was-
place with our numbers. All right, Naked Gun.
Yeah, funny movie. Like you
Mhm.
said, Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, yeah, O.J. Simpson before, yeah, his
Yeah.
shit, and yeah, I mean, I was such a fan of his too, O.J., and I loved him in this
Right.
movie, and it was
Mm-hmm.
such a bummer, but yeah, I mean, it's still a great movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Real quick too in the chat, Gore was saying Spaceballs, arguably the most popular, well-known, and quoted movie parody of all time. That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a very good point, man. Because and again, that was another one in school that we always were quoting and talking about. So I can agree with that. All right, so for my number 4, well, I guess great minds do think alike because I also chose the great Mel Brooks, Spaceballs. So,
Nice.
look, man, I mean, what more can you say about this movie? It was just everything about it was just spot on. It was funny. It had you know, just great quotes, but it also was a pretty cool sci-fi movie too, in and of itself, like a cheesy sci-fi movie. So it had everything you'd want in this movie. Everybody was on point. Bill Pullman too, man. And give a shout out to Bill Pullman because you don't usually think of him as a funny actor, but he has great comedic timing as well. And obviously Mel Brooks knew that because that's why he was put into the movie. So I love this movie. It's a great one. Spaceballs is my number 6.
Nice.
All right. All right, let me just switch this up here. Okay, Kill, what do we have for your number 5?
Okay. So once again, I love all these movies, but some things have to go in a place. Uh, I have watched this movie so many times, know it line by line. Once again, talking about a movie with a great ensemble cast, I am talking about the great Ghostbusters. So,
Yeah, boy.
so look, I love comedy, I love science fiction, and I love horror, and this movie has all three combined.
Hmm.
And action. Hell, it's got 4 things combined. The
Right.
chemistry between these 4 actors
Yes.
is just utterly amazing. Like to have these 4 actors who, could have just headlined the movie for the most part on their own. Even Ernie Hudson. Let's not
Yeah.
forget about Ernie, okay? He is
Yes.
not the weak link. There is no weak link. All
Right.
right. All these guys had great comedic timing. Of course, Bill Murray kind of being the more of the protagonist standout.
Yes.
But I mean, Dan Aykroyd, another great comedic actor that just tore it up in the 80s.
Yes.
This movie, and then we cannot forget a very beautiful young Sigourney Weaver. That's my girl
Respect.
doing her thing. Much respect. You are the GOAT. So, and Rick Moranis was in here. I mean, just so many
Yes.
people. Annie Potts, just everybody's in here, and it's
Hmm.
just everyone was just firing on all cylinders, no matter how big or small their part was.
Yes.
Um, Great movie. We don't really talk about the sequel too much here. We don't worry about that. But this one, the original, is amazing, and it still holds up today.
Yeah, it does.
Ghostbusters number 5.
Absolutely, man. I agree. All right. So, Coriander, what do we have for your number 5?
So I have the toy.
Yeah, you
Ah,
do.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Richard Pryor again, and Jackie Gleason, and Ned Beatty, and Scott Schwartz, and yeah, I mean, this is a great movie.
Yeah.
Pryor, I mean, he was so good in it. He played a reporter who like ends up, you know, becoming like a toy to this boy, but yeah, I mean, they get form this special bond, and the
Mhm.
stuff that he teaches this kid, it's great. It's a heartwarming, funny, movie. It's
I,
great.
yeah, and I'm glad you said heartwarming because, again, shout out. We talked about the late great Richard Donner a few weeks ago. By the way, if you guys have not seen the tribute to Richard Donner, please check it out. It was really fun to do and very very emotional. We also talked about him in our Omen episode, but I'm glad
Hmm.
you said heartwarming because there were those moments in this movie, like when Richard Pryor was saying to the kid, you don't buy friends, you
Yeah.
you earn them and stuff like that. And again, like Kill was talking about with Mel Brooks, Richard Donner, God man, what a filmography! I mean, talk about genre jumping, The Toy,
Mm.
The Omen, The Goonies, Lethal Weapon, and I just wanted to take a moment to kind of jump back on that because a lot of great movies, a lot of great movies, and of course Superman as well. But The Toy was awesome, and I remember watching it as a kid and enjoying it. So
Yeah.
good choice, good choice.
Hmm.
Real quick in the chat, Biffer saying The Toy, and we've got Brian in the chat saying, "Hey,
Hello.
how's it going, man?
Hey.
How's it going? Nice to see you, Brian." Um, Gore saying Ernie Hudson has had a great career. Too bad more people don't recognize him as much. He's a well-rounded actor. I agree.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. And Fred was saying one of the classic comedy movies I like is The Princess Bride. I love the line "inconceivable" by the great comedian
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn. Yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
movie. It really, really was. Very much so. And also for you guys in the chat, just as a reminder, please give this video a like as we are halfway through here. Unbelievable. We're burning through this. All right. So my number five. This is a movie, and I remember seeing this as a kid, all the hype around it. Killian knows this. It was just a phenomenon. Great minds do think alike. And for my number five, I have to have this movie on my list, Ghostbusters. Look, man, this movie was just so funny. It was so good, so funny. And I mean, just look at these guys. They were just at the peak of their powers, their comedic powers. And of course, as we talked about Ernie Hudson as well, so many great lines. I love the first time they see the ghosts and Bill Murray gets slimed and Dan Aykroyd's running to find him and he's like he's slimed me. It slimed me. Just so funny, so many funny moments, and it's a movie that I'll never forget. And of course, the new trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife just came out the other week, and it looks okay, but it's hard to beat this movie because it was literally a perfect movie, guys. It really was. There's nothing about this movie that I didn't like. The effects were amazing. You're talking about 1984, and I thought the effects were amazing. And of course, yeah, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean, come on, that makes all the difference in the world. So my number five is Ghostbusters. All right, guys, let's head to number four. Okay, Kill. What do we got for your number four?
So for my number four, I have National Lampoon's Vacation. Wally, Wally, Wally World. So, so look, once again, I'm on that Chevy stank, Chevy Chase. Look, he just wants to take his family on a road trip vacation. I mean, the Griswolds doing it up, doing it big. And who here hasn't been in their car going either to an amusement park or vacation with their parents, and it starts off fine, you're all optimistic, and then halfway through, or you start to get irritated by one another, your older brother's being a punk ass, your
Mhm.
sister's being a punk or whatever,
Right.
you're agitated, you're tired, you just want to get to your destination. And
Right.
this movie, once again, I mean, you had so many other great comedians were in this movie. I mean, John Candy was in it,
Yeah.
Chevy Chase, and and it's a road movie.
It is.
It's simplistic in its format, trying to get from point A to point B, and great scenes like this, drinking the beer with the son. He gets the beer can back, and he's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and once again, I'm not going to talk too long on this because I have a feeling it might be up here again. Chevy Chase with his comedic timing and his body language and his facial expressions.
Yes.
You can't teach that.
Right.
That man is a master. So
that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, he's naturally just a funny ass person. He really is.
Yeah.
All right, man. Okay. All right, Coriander. So what do we have for your number 4?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
I've watched this movie, I don't know how many times, when I was young. Yeah.
Right.
Sean Penn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, you had Judge Reinhold, of course, Phoebe Cates, Nicolas Cage.
Right?
Yeah. It's all about high school and sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So, yeah. It's a great movie.
The 80s.
Yep.
It was the 80s, man. All right. Too funny. All right.
Nice.
Let's just switch this up here. Let's see. And I'll catch up in the chat. Gore was saying, regardless of what his reputation is now, Chevy was my favorite comedic actor of the 80s, hands down. Yeah, man. I mean, there's no doubt. I think Kill said it. He was just so damn good in the 80s. He really, I mean, as far as the string of movies that he was in, they were just so fantastic. It was crazy. All right. So, my number 4. Now, this was another one of these movies that I really enjoyed to the point where we talked about it in school so much. And this actor ruled the 80s. I mean, when you talk about comedy, this actor ruled the 80s. I don't think anyone can really um, say anything against that or disagree. And this, for a long time, was one of my favorite movies that he did. Probably my favorite. I can't tell you how many times we talked about it in school, quoted it, and just had so much fun with it. I'm talking about Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. Look, man, the fact that him and Arsenio played like five or six different characters, and they were all individually funny on their own, that alone is just awesome. I mean, they were playing characters, and it was just you actually believed it was someone else. You know what I mean? Directed by the great John Landis Coriander from American Werewolf fame. I mean,
Yeah.
and and you know who he's going to bring in to do makeup. He's going to bring in Rick Baker. And Rick
Right?
Baker, again, just fantastic stuff. When Eddie Murphy was dressed up as the old Jewish guy, I swear to God, the first time I watched this movie, I did not know that was Eddie Murphy. It just kind of
That's
flew over my
funny.
head because Eddie was so committed to the role and just his
Yeah.
mannerisms and what he was able to do. Fantastic movie. Arsenio as well. Arsenio had so many great moments, and he's a legend in his own right. I really miss those two together because they just had a fantastic chemistry. They really, really did. So had to have this on my list, and it's at number 4, Coming to America. All right. We're going to get to number 3, and I'm going to just catch up in the chat here. We got Apollo. Apollo is in the chat saying Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is the greatest comedy of all time. I do love that one. I really, really do.
That's a
I
good one.
really, really do. John Candy again, man. We got Brian saying Beetlejuice is a good 80s comedy film. It sure is. And
Yeah.
we have talked about Beetlejuice. By the way, if you guys have not seen that episode, please check out our Beetlejuice episode. It was a great review and celebration. Brian also saying, I love Naked Gun. Yes, yes. And we got Gore in the chat. She's your queen to be.
Nice.
Good one, Gore. And we got Dan He beat Joe Lewis's ass. Yes, indeed. Brian saying Airplane is another one of my favorite 80s comedy films. I hear you, man. I
Yeah.
hear you.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So, where are we at here? Number 3. Okay. What do we got, man? What do we got?
Okay. So for me, I have to agree with I believe you, Knight, and my number three is Police Academy.
Yeah, it
Steve
is.
Guttenberg, I mean, just
Yes.
hilarious in this. And like you said, Knight, I'm not going to talk too much on it. Spawned a franchise
Yes.
and just so many classic characters. Once again, blending comedy with action, comedy
Mm-hmm.
with police action, like just just visual crazy comedy, slapstick comedy, raunchy comedy with action. Like
Look at
this
that
movie
smile. Look at that
is,
smile. He
yeah,
knows what's up.
he's up to no good,
Right. God, he was so funny back then.
Oh yeah, man. So yeah, once again, Police Academy. This is the precursor to Reno 911 and all of that stuff.
Yes.
They got it from here. Stick with that original stank. Police
Yes.
Academy for number three.
Yes. And also, shout out, rest in peace to Bubba Smith, who
Oh yeah, Bubba Smith.
a native
High
of
Tower.
Hightower, a native of Maryland. So shout out to him because he was so good in these movies. He really, really was. I enjoyed him. Good call, man. Good call. All right, real quick before I get to you, Coriander. Uh, Apollo saying, "Yo." Uh, Brian saying, "You're going to school now, Mister." Yes, you guys. It's so funny. You guys could come up with a whole bunch of these quotes. Apollo was saying, "Love Brewster's Millions." Yes, that was another
Mm,
great Richard Pryor movie.
yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. All right. I think I'm all caught up with you guys. All right. So, Coriander, what do we have for your number 3?
Caddyshack.
All
Yeah,
right.
you do.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, what you guys, well, I know, Knight, you talked about this. And yeah, what can you say about this movie? Chevy Chase and, you know, so many other great ones. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a
Yeah.
great movie. It's funny. And yeah, I mean, this is one I've seen. These last three movies for me are ones that I've seen so much. And even like to this day, I'll still watch them if they're on because, yeah, I just like them so much.
Absolutely. It was just a funny ass movie, man. I loved Ted Knight in that movie too, man. He was so funny.
Right?
All right. Okay, so this all right. This is where it got a little tight. And again, these are all movies I love so much and I've seen these movies so many times. And to do a list, it's challenging. Would you guys agree with that when we do these top 10s and we've done a lot of them,
Yeah.
but it's really challenging to put a list
Especially with
together.
Yeah, especially with just 10 because there's movies that obviously can't make it on the list because you only have 10 to pick. So
Right,
Yep.
yeah,
exactly.
it's tough.
Yeah. So yeah, it's challenging, but you got to put movies somewhere. So this is a movie I absolutely love, and I think it was me and you, Coriander. We did an episode on it, and it was so much fun to revisit this classic. And we're gonna redo that episode, of course. But again, we're saying that name again: Chevy Chase, Chevy Chase, Chevy Chase, a master. I loved Chevy Chase
Hmm.
in so many of these movies that he did. I'm talking about National Lampoon's Vacation. This is a movie, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to jump ahead, but this is a movie that I literally could watch over and over and over again, and it just does not seem to get old. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched this movie, and it just doesn't get old for me.
Hmm.
It's so funny, so many great moments. Like you were saying, Kill, the timing, the look. I mean, this scene right here, this could easily be a scene that kind of is just a throwaway scene. But the look that he gives to the salesman and just the body language that he gives to Russ when he's talking to him, and it's just like it's just comedic gold. Everybody else in this movie was great too. We didn't even really talk about Randy Quaid or any of those guys, but so many funny moments, and it's just a classic. It really really is. So it had to be on my list.
Hmm.
I really struggled with where I was going to put it, but I got it at number 3. So National Lampoon's Vacation. All right, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. We're heading to number 2, and before we get to you, Kill, let's just see what these guys are saying in the chat. Gore is saying that song in Caddyshack from Kenny Loggins seems like it played constantly. It did. It did. It really did. And I love Kenny Loggins, so it's okay. And he's saying Fletch. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And Fred saying there's a comedy horror movie I've seen called My Best Friend is a Vampire. It's about this nerdy teen who was seduced by a sexy female vampire. I remember that movie. It was a good one. All right, Kill. Let's get down to brass tacks. What is your number 2 comedy of the 80s decade?
Look, I absolutely love this movie and I love its sequel. And honestly, I don't know which one I like more because they both are hilarious. In my opinion, one of the best visual slapstick comedies ever crafted. My number 2 is the great Airplane.
Yes, it is.
And look, Knight knows this. We have watched this movie so many times, and I swear to you, I still pick out stuff to this day. Just little things in the background, just things that just shouldn't even be good. I can't. I mean, just like even stuff like that, the inflated autopilot or co-pilot, and he's groping her. I mean, look, this movie is very 80s, yes, hilarious. If you are a fan of visual slapstick humor, this movie has it in spades. And I mean, just, and of course, your boy Leslie Nielsen is in this as well. No matter if his part is big or little, he always leaves his footprint. Great movie, Airplane.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious, and don't call me.
Don't call me Shirley.
I mean, it was perfect delivery, man. Biffer says the jive talking grandma was hilarious.
I speak jive.
Yes, Barbara Billingsley. That's right. Yep. And Brian said the same thing. I speak jive. See, that's what I'm saying, guys. That's how you know a movie has really been important and really made impact. Good one, man. Good one. All right, Coriander, what do we have for your number 2 comedy of the 80s?
So this movie is funny, and yeah, all I can say is dink dink. No. Spaceballs.
That was good. Good for you, girl.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah. What can I say? Yes. Yeah. I love it. It's funny. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait, and we will at some point do an episode on Spaceballs, and I can't wait for it, man. So many great moments.
Right. Yeah.
And so many. I mean, like you've said too, Kill. Just so many legends: John Candy, Rick Moranis, Mel Brooks. I mean, it's just crazy, man. Good stuff, man. Great choice. Yeah. All right, let me catch up to the chat as I prepare for this. Brian says the white zone is for loading. There is no unloading in the red zone. Yeah. Oh man. All right, guys. Let's get serious now. This was difficult, okay? Because these 2 movies are movies that I absolutely adore, and it was so difficult to choose one over the other because both of these movies are movies that I've watched so many times, and again, they just don't get old, and I love everyone in them. But you got to pick somebody. And for my number 2, I picked the legendary, the great movie Clue. And look, man, people that have watched this channel, people that know us, you guys know what we think of this guy right here. A legend. Tim Curry, just a legend. So many great scenes in this movie. We had our episode on Clue. By the way, if you have not seen it, please check it out. It was fun and hilarious talking about this movie specifically. So many great moments, and everybody in the cast, they were just on point. It's a great movie. It's a murder mystery, so that also was a huge, wonderful thing for me as far as watching it as a viewer. The set pieces, the set design, you got a creepy mansion. I mean, how can you not love that? It's just a fantastic movie, and everybody was great. And of course, we always want to have a moment to talk about legends like Madeline Kahn, her Flames speech, which was totally improvised. Just fantastic stuff. This is a great movie. If you have not seen Clue, you definitely need to see it. It is a great movie, a funny movie, and a great murder mystery as well. Like, that's the other thing. This was bleeding into that genre too, and it did it effortlessly. And also, John Landis had a big hand in getting this movie together. He wasn't the director, but he was going to direct it, but he didn't. But anyways, again, shout out to John Landis. So that's my number 2, Clue. All right, guys, this is it, man. This is the finale. We're going to number 1. Kill, tell me what your number 1 comedy of the 80s is.
Okay, so at the beginning of all this, I mentioned blending the old comedians with the new. And you mentioned tonight blending genres. I got a movie for you that's a comedy, it's a period piece, and it's a gangster flick and action. My number 1 is the great Harlem Nights, where you have 3 generations of funny ass men. Red Fox, then Richard Pryor, and then the newbie Eddie Murphy. This movie is amazing. Just to have those 3 legends
Yes.
on the screen at one time.
Yes.
You'll entertain 3 generations of people.
Yes.
Your granddad, your dad, and yourself. I mean, like, because you've grown up listening to these guys' records or seeing Eddie Murphy Raw or Delirious, and you put all that in there, and then you have an ensemble cast. Arsenio Hall is in it, Robin Harris, Jasmine Guy. Pretty much a who's who of comedic talent in the 80s. I mean, and just Eddie Murphy as, the main lead, just so great, so suave, so smooth in this movie. And man, once again, I've said this time and time again, so I'm sorry, but this is another one of those movies. If it's on, I gotta stop and I gotta watch it because it has so much funny lines and just great action too.
Absolutely.
Harlem Nights, my number 1.
Nice one. We got Biffer saying my number 1 movie is Let It Ride, starring Richard Dreyfuss. He gets a hot tip on a racehorse and wins big. Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss is another great one. I love Richard Dreyfuss. We got Triple Feature in the chat. What's up, man? How you doing? He was saying there was no pressure on Killian for his number 1. Nice. Gore saying never thought all the talent in one movie. Not to mention Della Reese.
Yeah.
You're all right, Gore. You know what's up. That's my man, Gore. You're all right. Let's see. We got Let's Chop It Up. My man Prim saying I agree. Great movies. What's up, man? Yeah. All right. So Coriander. Now the pressure is squarely on your shoulders. What? I like how you laugh it off. What is your number 1 comedy of the 80s?
Airplane.
Yay!
Yeah. I mean, this movie was so funny. I love how it had like everything. It had disco, and I'm a disco girl. I love that. And, yeah, I mean, it was great. Kareem, you had Kareem in this.
Right?
So, yeah. There you go. Yeah, man.
Good call.
Yeah.
Right. Nice. Cool. All right. In the chat, Triple Feature jumping into this, saying my number 1 is Naked Gun. Nice. Yeah, we definitely. I don't know if you've been here the whole time, Triple Feature, but we had Naked Gun in our list too, man. It's a fantastic movie. But when I think about the number 1, I mean, this was the movie that first jumped into my mind, and again, I know it sounds like a broken record, but it's true. And I don't know about other people, but when I think of my childhood and the connection I had with movies because of my family, my parents, my brother, it makes those movies even more vivid. So I think about when I first saw it, or I think about when I was talking about it with friends or whoever. This was a movie like that, and I'll never forget watching it at home when it would be on TV. Fantastic movie. Everyone is good in it. We've all talked about this movie so far. There was no doubt in my mind the number one movie, the number one comedy of the 80s is Airplane. Look, guys,
Nice.
I'm just being real.
Very good.
This movie is damn good. And like you said, Kill, I think you said it best. Probably the greatest slapstick comedy film ever. I mean, it is the
Yeah.
prototype. It is the prototype. And it's tricky too, because you can go overboard with it to the point where it's not funny. But this movie had, to me anyways, just a great balance. Everything in it,
Yes.
everybody in it. Again, the hero of the moment was Leslie Nielsen, and just these little moments here and there. Every time he came into the cockpit, I was just ready for something funny to be said, and he does it with that deadpan face, and it was just great. So many moments, too many to talk about. We will at some point do an episode on this on its own and spend the thorough amount of time this movie deserves. But again, this is my number one pick, and I knew that was going to be my number one pick right off the bat. So, all right. I love that movie. Let's see. In the chat, Biffer is saying, my honorable mention, A Fish Called Wanda. Yes, that was
Mm.
funny. That was a good one, man. Slasher Fred saying, The Blues Brothers. Of course. Of course, that was great. Let's see. Gore saying, hey, can't forget Della. Come on. He shot off my pinky toe.
Right? She whooped his ass.
Right. Brian saying, Roger, what's your vector? Victor, over. I mean, stuff like that was just so good. It really was. All right, guys. Anyways, so that is our top 10 of the 80s. We're glad you guys hung out with us. We hope you enjoyed it. Please give the video a like, share it with people. That would really help support the channel. And most importantly, and I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it until we have more people do it. Please leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know what your top picks are, or your favorites, or favorite moments or actors in the 80s comedies. That would really also help the video a lot. So we will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Touch it.